Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Jan Michael here. I'm back. Did you miss me? Probably not, but that's okay, because we got some films to talk about. Some Oscar films. That's right, guys. It's time for my 2022 Oscar predictions. Now, even though we're starting our predictions later than we normally would in a year, it's still a little bit too early to really get into the details of a lot of what's gonna get nominated. So instead, I'm actually breaking this up into two videos. For this month, I'm gonna be talking about the best picture and directors attached who might get nominated at the Oscars, who everybody's talking about. And then next month, I'm gonna be talking about the actors and actresses that everybody's talking about possibly getting into the Oscars. So with that being said, guys, we got a lot of shit to go over. Let's just begin. Starting things out, we got the film that I see most people placing in their top 10. Heck, I see a lot of people actually placing this as their number 1 right now. And that's Ridley Scott's House of Gucci. And I kind of see why, because despite not making a good film in over 10 years, Ridley tends to get his dick sucked by the various award circuits out there. Remember when The Martian won Best Comedy at the Golden Globes?
Thank you very much. Comedy? But anyway, I'm very grateful for this. We're very grateful for this.
And they say bribes don't work. Seriously, why are the Golden Globes canceled again? Anyway, as I said, I get why this one is pretty high up there. Ridley tends to be a safe bet at the Oscars, so, most likely gonna get in. And I can't say that the story itself doesn't seem a bit interesting. This is actually following the real life murder of the wife, Mrs. Gucci, murdering her husband. And yeah, I'm already hearing some backlash behind this where the actual wife is saying that she's angry because Lady Gaga never came to visit her to kind of help her get into character, or that the family's upset because, this is just exploiting our family for entertainment purposes. Yeah, because a cold-blooded murder should have rights among these things. It's all fucking stupid. So let's just move on, shall we? Next up, we have Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley. And this is the comment that's gonna get me the most thumbs down on this video. I tend to think Guillermo del Toro is pretty overrated. With his films, I get two thoughts. First, while watching the trailer, where you're like, oh, that looks pretty interesting. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go see that. And then the second one, when you're walking out of the theater going, oh, that wasn't interesting at all. Now, there are some exceptions to that, but overall, I tend to be underwhelmed by his movies, especially in recent years. But that being said, I do think the man is a brilliant visionary. Good God, the monster designs, the sets, it's all, it's visually appealing. So in that regard, fantastic. I just very rarely think there's a good story or a good engaging characters attached with these things. So it's just my opinion. That being said, Guillermo del Toro, coming off of his win for The Shape of Water, which I just gotta say, I still love the fact that I can say, hey, a movie about a woman fucking a fish won Best Picture at the Oscars. Come on, how can you not like that? You just gotta love that. All right, moving on. Following up that one is a film I am actually really looking forward to. It's Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Now, I'm actually seeing a weird shift between when this movie was coming out last year to this year, where last year, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, that's totally gonna get in. People were hyped about it. They're like, man, he might get into Best Director. And there was this general hype around it. And then for some weird reason this year, I see a lot of people even knocking it off their top 10. It's almost like an afterthought. And a lot of people are saying, it could be bad. I just don't think this is gonna be that big Oscar film and things like that. And hold on, what the fuck happened? This is Denis we're talking about, right? One of the few directors who's actually making consistently good films. Well, fuck it. I'm still very excited about it, and I'm hoping that this is as good as it looks. And I just gotta say, I was saying it last year, but now that it's moved to this year, I'm gonna say it a bunch more times. this is gonna be the Mad Max Fury Road of this year, where it's gonna get nominated, it's gonna win a bunch of technical awards, and then it's gonna lose to Spotlight. Speaking of Spotlight, the director Tom McCarthy is coming out with a new film this year called Stillwater. But it's the director of Spotlight, so who gives a shit? Moving on, we have Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch, which I'm just not convinced is gonna be a big Oscar player. The reason for that being that this isn't one cohesive tale being told, but rather 3 individual stories. And I think that's really gonna hurt its chances at getting into Best Picture. Heck, because of this, I really don't even see an acting nomination coming from the movie. If anything, I see things like maybe the design of the film, maybe the cinematography, maybe writing I could see getting in, but I just don't see this being another Grand Budapest Hotel. That's pretty much all I have on that one. On a personal note, I do like Wes films. They're just silly enough that I tend to be entertained by them. But that also being said, if you've seen one Wes film, you've seen them all, so, you know, that's kind of all you got to say about it. Next up, we have another Anderson, which you shouldn't confuse the two. Seriously, don't confuse the two. You're gonna have a bad time. This is Paul Thomas Anderson's Soggy Bottom, which is a working title right now, but oh my god, I hope it stays. That'd be freaking awesome. Hey guys, let's go see Soggy Bottom. Yeah, you just can't make shit like this up. Anyways, not a heck of a lot is known about the film, but I just gotta say, Paul has a way of making movies that even though certain ones I'm just not a big fan of, it's still twisted enough that I'm always kind of just left sitting in the theater going, what the hell did I just watch? So, even Phantom Thread, which I thought was boring as shit, then you got that great ending where you're just like, what? Yeah. So, in that regard, I am looking forward to it, because even if it doesn't end up being great, I'm sure I'm still going to find something to kind of talk to other people about. Next, let's talk about our favorite douchebag David O. Russell for his film, Canterbury Glass. Once again, we just don't know a lot about this film right now, but it is worth mentioning just because he tends to be an Oscar contender. And even if his film doesn't get into Best Picture, it's not received as well, he at least gets his actor's nomination. So in that regards, definitely worth keeping an eye on for now. Moving on, we have the next Coen movie. That's right, just Coen. It's Joel Coen, not the two brothers. We got The Tragedy of Macbeth. This is an interesting film in the regards that I'm really looking to seeing the style of it more than almost anything else. Just because you have the Coen brothers films where you see the style, you can always catch glimmers of, okay, you can always tell when it's their movie. So is that style gonna greatly change when it's just one of the brothers? That's very interesting to me. I like when team dynamics kind of get split up and see what they can do on their own. Just the similar how actors will normally be known for one type of role and then kind of switch over to a different genre. I always like seeing those things. So this is what strikes that fancy for me, just more in terms of the style more than the actual performance. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. Next up, let's talk about some musicals, shall we? Because good lord, there are so many of them this year. Okay, let's start off with Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. That trailer does not look very interesting. Alright, so obviously this is a remake of the original West Side Story, because, you know, remakes of Best Picture winners have always worked out so well, but it is Steven, so we gotta treat this a little bit more seriously. But then again, Ansel Elgort's in the film, so I think that's really gonna hurt its chances of getting in, and look, if I'm being completely honest, it's just, especially when you compare this to the other big musical, which I'll talk about in a second here, it just doesn't look as interesting. I mean, just looking at the trailer, I'm like, alright, the sets don't look very memorable, the dancing doesn't look very impressive. I don't know, man. There's something about this movie that I don't think is gonna be Steven's best. I might be wrong. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I want to see a good film, but this one's probably one of the least impressive of the musicals that I'm looking forward to seeing. Now, the one that I'm comparing it to, and the one that I am looking forward to seeing, is Jon M. Chu's In the Heights, which is actually coming out later this month. And yeah, especially when you put this trailer side by side with West Side Story's trailer, it has so much energy behind it. And I'm not even a huge fan of musicals. I think it's always just kind of goofy, people dancing in the streets and shit like that, but there's just so much energy attached to it. You can see the choreography just in the film alone, and you're like, oh wow, that looks entertaining. People are fucking dancing on the sides of buildings, and I'm like, all right, it's gonna have like a dreamlike effect. It's colorful. The setting is really nice. It looks gorgeous. I could just already, all right, I'm more excited about this one. But yeah, the early reviews are out, and I think it just goes without saying, this is probably gonna be that big movie that everybody's just gonna go flock to see. And I'm not going to be surprised if this is the movie that, like, news outlets call, oh, the return of cinema. So yeah, looking forward to seeing this one. All right, let's knock out these other musicals out of the way, because I really don't think these other ones really have a shot at getting into Best Picture. These are the films that, if the Golden Globes are still going to happen this upcoming year, this is where they would get their nominations. But it's not, so who gives a fuck? Let's just get through this. First and foremost, Dear Evan Hansen. This is directed by Stephen Chbosky. It is about a high school student, so of course you have to cast a 27-year-old man to play a high school student. Yeah, all right. Next we have Annette, directed by Leo Carax. This is Adam Driver and Marion Cotillard singing together. And a lot of people remember when Marriage Story came out, there was that scene of Adam singing. And everyone was like, oh my god, he was so amazing. He's such a good singer. And okay, I mean, he was fine, but I don't think if he was anything amazing. Do we really need a whole film with him singing? Regardless, I actually agree with what a lot of other people are saying. This one's going to be a little bit too weird for the Oscars to get behind. But I think it's still a little bit too early to really come to that full decision. It's just what I feel. And I see a lot of other people feeling that way as well. Next up, we have Cyrano, directed by Joe Wright. Again, I just don't think this one's going to be an Oscar contender in terms of Best Picture, but I would really like to see Peter Dinklage nominated for an Oscar. I think he's a fantastic actor, so really that's the only reason I'm even including it on here. Next up, we have Tick, Tick, Boom. This is Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut. I think that alone deserves a mention. This is with Andrew Garfield. I don't know. I think we're just so overbloated with musicals this year that it's just, I think this one's going to get lost in the shuffle, if I'm being honest. There's going to be one that's going to get lost in the shuffle, and this one seems like the most likely candidate. Good lord, I still have so many. All right, let's just fucking knock these out one after another. The Power of the Dog, directed by Jane Campion. We have A Journal for Jordan, directed by Denzel Washington, which... yeah, I like his film, so why not? King Richard, directed by Reinaldo Marcus Green. Don't Look Up, directed by Adam McKay. The Harder They Fall, directed by James Samuel. The Last Duel, because Ridley Scott he needs both his balls sucked in 1 year, you know, not just one, he needs both. Respect by Liesl Tommy. The Eyes of Tammy Faye by Michael Showalter. And thus... we come to the last three, which I really, really am going to take my time with because I want to talk about these a little bit more. First up, Sian Heder's CODA. This is the one that came out at Sundance and freaking won all the awards. It was the one that everyone was saying, oh my god, it's so amazing, it's a tearjerker. It's that movie that the Oscars like to vote the feel-good movie of the year. And I am looking forward to it just based on those reactions. But what I find most odd is that the people that have seen the movie, that are doing their predictions, aren't really putting it very high up on their list. Almost as if they're saying, oh yeah, it was good. Moving on. And that's really the reaction that I'm seeing out of everybody. The most I'm seeing is that it could get some acting nominations, and that's pretty much about it. And it makes me wonder, what the hell, what was up with all that buzz back then? Like, was that just not real? Was it fake? Is it just being overhyped? And because of that, I'm actually looking forward to seeing it, just because I'm seeing this really weird like almost like two-faced, like, yeah, it's good. And that's about it. So there's that. I will say that Apple bought this for like a ridiculous amount of money. I think it broke like a record there. And so only 5 people are probably going to end up seeing it. So that's probably going to hurt its chances of getting into the Oscars. Good job, Apple. Good job. You just had to fuck it up for everybody, didn't ya? On the complete opposite of that spectrum, we have Franz Kranz's Mass. Now, if CODA was the one that most people are like, oh yeah, it's good, moving on, then this one's the one that most people are like, holy fucking shit, it's amazing, and then they just don't shut the fuck up about it. And it makes me worried, because I've not seen it, but I'm really wanting to because of what everybody's saying about it. But then it's getting so overhyped that I feel by the time I get a chance to see it, I'm gonna go, oh yeah, it was good. Moving on. So in that regards, I am a little bit worried. It's almost like The Father last year. The Father, everybody saw it and they're like, holy shit, it was amazing. It was so good, Anthony Hopkins. And then I go see the movie and, oh yeah, it was good. But I didn't really think anything more other than that. So I'm really hoping not. This one, again, just kind of very similar to CODA. It's like a huge tearjerker, but for legit, like being a very heavy film. And the one thing I do hear more than anything else is that the acting performance in this movie is just fucking amazing. Like everybody here deserves an Oscar. Not just being nominated for an Oscar, everybody's saying that these people deserve to win. So again, overhyped? Maybe, but I'm still really very much looking forward to it. And then lastly of all, just because it's so goddamn funny, Aaron Sorkin's being the Ricardos. This looks absolutely fucking terrible. And I like Aaron Sorkin. Like, I like his scripts, I like his films, but good lord, the acting choices behind this is just so baffling to me. It's just, like, what the fuck's happening here? Look, okay. This is gonna have one of two results. At least it better have one of two results. I'm gonna be so disappointed if this is just an okay movie. But first, it's gonna be so good that we're gonna be like, holy shit, how can we not see this? How can we not see these actors playing these roles? Javier Bardem, of course, he's Ricky. How can he not? Or it's gonna be a complete shit show. Like, it's gonna be so horrendously bad that you just have to go see it to believe it. Almost like Cats. You know, Cats came out and you're like, oh my god, what the fuck's happening? And then you go see it and it's worse than you could even imagine it, but it's almost worth seeing it just for the absolute fail that it is. It's gotta have one of those two. I refuse. It can't just be okay. It's gotta be one of those two. And I'm so goddamn looking forward to seeing it just based on those two possibilities. Alright, I got a little bonus area here for you, because I got 3 films coming out this year that I'm super excited about. You can actually count these as my most anticipated movies of the year, and they're not gonna get Oscar nominations. You'll see that most people are placing it on their Oscar predictions list, but I'm calling it right now. No Oscar nominations for these next 3. That being said, I would love for them to get nominated. Number 1, The Green Knight. That trailer dropped not that long ago, and it is so fucking awesome. I love that trailer. Good lord, I'm so looking forward to seeing that movie just on that trailer alone. And it's not gonna get nominated for an Oscar. I mean, I hope it does, but it's not. Next up, Candyman. This was the film that was supposed to come out last year, got pushed to this year. Jordan Peele is behind this one. Not directing, just writing credit on that one. And yeah, again, trailer came out, looks great. I'm really looking forward to this one. Once again, just don't see this one being an Oscar contender. And then last of all, Last Night in Soho. This one also just got a recent trailer drop. And that trailer is not very good. I actually think it does a very poor job of explaining what the film is about. But, you know, Edgar Wright, I think, can do no wrong. I can't think of a film that's come out that I just don't enjoy to some capacity. And yeah, Baby Driver. Fucking love Baby Driver. I think that film getting sound nominations, I think, was what is getting most people thinking that this one's going to get nominated for something, but it's not. It truly isn't. I don't think it is, anyway. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you this time. You know what? Before we go, last year, the Oscars seems to have finally learned their lesson to be inclusive, to have all these different cultures, all these different races, all these different groups finally getting their due. You know, not just in director, not just in the acting categories, but you just saw so much diversity in all the categories. So surely that means that the Oscars have finally become inclusive, right? They finally learned their lesson. So you know what? This year I decided I'm going to keep track of the numbers. I'm going to keep track of how much they're doing and how much they've learned their lesson. So, you know, just for this video and the people that I've gone over, let's take a look. Let's take a look how much of a lesson they've learned and see all the different cultures on screen here. Oh. Well, it was good while it lasted. See you next video.